Children, I begin my today's class with the worldwide campaign taking round. Just boycott China. Don't buy Chinese goods. Don't use Chinese apps. Because I don't hate China. Instead, simply I just don't like that it exists anymore. New month and new chapter is looking a correct combo. Yes, you guessed right that I am moving towards a new chapter, and that is a coal and petroleum. The third chapter in the sequence, and which will be the last chapter for your assessment of term 1, because these three chapters are so far it has been placed in the term 1 syllabus, and the last chapter, which is your coal and petroleum, will be starting from today. Coal and petroleum, two words are looking in the heading of the chapter, and if I say that make it one, then what will be the right word? Right word will be a fossil fuel. Fossil fuel, because fossil means what? Dead remains of the plants and animals which got buried millions of years ago inside the surface of the earth, and they are safe, and by the application of temperature and pressure they became fossil. This is about the fossil fuel. So boys, we will start discussion over first the natural resources. I will give you a preliminary idea of the natural resource, and then I will actually move towards the topic of the chapter, that is your fuels. So if I ask to you that what are the natural resources, the natural answer will be the resources which are provided by the nature, which are obtained from the nature. So what are the resources which are obtained from the nature? If you think roughly, then you can say, okay ma'am, we are surrounded by the air, so it is provided by the nature, it is given by the nature, we are not making the air in our factory and all. Water, which is provided by the nature, it's most abundant natural resource is air and water. And apart from that, there are so many other natural resources also, like the forest, like the groundwater, like your in water there are different types of the water: groundwater, rainwater, surface water, etc. These are all natural resources. And then your minerals are metallic, non-metallic in nature, and then different types of fuels. So in this chapter we are going to study about those natural resources which are nothing but the fuels. As you know that our life is partially, or you can say to a greater extent is dependent on the fuels, because these fuels want to produce heat energy, and that heat energy gives calorific value, and that calorific value is responsible to do the mechanical work. So let's talk about the types of the natural resources. Well, basically there are two types of natural resources. One is inexhaustible natural resource, and other is your exhaustible natural resource. What is the basic difference between the inexhaustible and exhaustible natural resource? Basic difference is that one means the inexhaustible is so high in our surrounding that it is unlimited in quantity, and that is why it never gets over. However you use it mindlessly, you use it wisely, whatever, but it will remain in the surrounding, and it will never get over, like your sunlight, like your air, etc. Because we can't use it more than we want. You can't breathe more, you can't stay more in the sunlight. You will use whatever you are destined to use. Then your exhaustible natural resources, these are the precious natural resources. Why? Because more precious is your inexhaustible, because the air, water, sunlight gives us life. These are the life backups, but since they are unlimited in their quantity, that's why you can say that we don't give it much importance, but they are more important. They are most important in fact. Now the exhaustible natural resources are limited in their quantity. That is why they should be used in a sustainable way. Sustainable way means if you are using it today, you will conserve it for tomorrow. You will conserve. If our generation is having plenty of it, then the future generation also do not come in scarce of it. That is the sustainable use of the resources. We conserve for the future, and that is the wise use. So what are these your exhaustible natural resources? The exhaustible natural resources are forest, coal, petroleum, minerals, wildlife, natural gases, etc. So why I am saying forest? Forest is grown everywhere where there is barren land. You can say that is your forest area or wild area. So forest is a very precious natural resource because forest gives us the right weather condition, right living condition, right habitat. It brings biodiversity. And that is the most important thing, because we are trying to compensate the loss of forest, which is your deforestation, by afforestation. But afforestation is just not a replacement of deforestation. Afforestation can bring greenery, but it cannot bring biodiversity. A naturally grown forest is the kind of place where the all type of smaller, bigger plants, animals, etc. grow themselves, and that is according to they make the habitat of that area. That habitat is the natural habitat, which is the comfortable place for all type of wild activities. But it is not in our hand, it is a natural thing. So we can bring the greenery by doing the afforestation, but it is just not the replacement of deforestation. It is only a remedy of deforestation. It can make up the loss only, but it can't bring it back. Coal, petroleum are very limited because these are the fossil fuel, and our chapter aims to discuss about these precious natural resources, which are the sources of energy. Minerals are metallic minerals, non-metallic minerals. They are also very limited in quantity, and that's why we should not misuse them. Wildlife, most important thing. Worldwide, the environmentalists are trying to save wildlife, and that is why the forest department is very getting strict day by day for the encroachment of the residential lifestyle inside the forest. And natural gases. So here, with the help of a flow chart, I am trying to explain you about the types of the natural resources, which is just like this. I have told you. Now I am moving towards that natural resource which is actually fuel. Fuel can be a natural resource, and fuel can be a man-made thing also. So what is fuel? Fuel is a substance which burns in air to produce energy without releasing harmful gases in large quantity. Then you will say that, ma'am, when we burn the fuel, the gases are released in the air, and these are the pollutants. Yes, but the good fuels are those fuels which do not release the toxic gases in the air in large quantity. I am saying in large quantity. In minimal quantity you just can't avoid it, but it should not go in an unlimited way. Then it will create air pollution, and that has another story, how it is damaging our surrounding. So this is fuel. Fuel burns to produce energy, and that energy is the most desirable thing to spend a comfortable life in today's context. Now fuels can be classified as natural fuels and derived fuels. What are natural fuels and what are derived fuels? Let me tell you. So boys, fuels are either present naturally without any processing. We are using them, like your wood will be the best example. Wood is what? Wood is obtained from the plants, and that is a natural fuel, and it is used in its primary state without any processing. Whereas the derived fuels are those fuels which are which are obtained from the nature itself, but they are processed, they are developed to become better. Why? Because the better version of those natural fuels give us higher calorific energy and lesser pollutant, and that is why we derived from single natural fuel many derived fuels are obtained. This will become clear. You can find that I am going little complex in my language, but this is the demand of the chapter. Derived fuels are processed fuels. Simply understand for the time being this much only. So here also, with the help of a flow chart, I have tried to explain it. Fuels are divided into two types, that is your primary or natural fuels, and then your secondary and derived fuels. Your primary fuels are again on the basis of a state. We are dividing it into the three types, that is your categories: solid, liquid and gas. Solid will be what? Wood. Liquid will be your crude oil. Crude oil is a primary and natural fuel, but from crude oil we derive so many products. They will be derived fuel. Then the natural gases. Now boys, in the secondary or derived fuels, you can again see there are three states: solid, liquid and gases. Solid is coke. Coke is basically coal, but the processed coal, developed coal is your coke. It is not the natural coal. Then in your liquid it is your kerosene. So kerosene is also derived fuel because it is obtained from the primary fuel by the processing. And then your gases is your coal gas, which is also derived fuel, which is obtained from coal. Kerosene is obtained from petroleum. So derivation has been done, and what is the process of deriving it? We will having a good discussion over it in this chapter, because the chapter targets the processing and the purification processes of this crude oil and coal. So boys, today this much only, and in my future classes, coming classes, I'll be telling you more about the coal and petroleum, and it is going to be very interesting. So please go through the today's content and find it enriching.